HFY stories, a very good reason. The Intec's reckoning. The Galactic Senate chamber was unusually silent, save for the faint hum of energy shields protecting its vast, crystalline walls. Representatives from 100 species sat in a semicircle, their eyes fixed on the lone human standing in the center of the arena. Captain Elise Morgan of the Terran Defense Fleet stood resolute, her expression a mask of calm despite the storm brewing around her. Clad in a crisp uniform that bore the scars of battle, she carried with her a tablet that glowed faintly with data. "The floor recognizes Captain Morgan of Terra," boomed the voice of the Inori speaker, a tall, fox-like alien with an aura of authority. "You are called here to justify your species' actions against the Intec Dominion. Speak now, or face immediate sanction." Elise stepped forward, her boots echoing in the vast hall. She scanned the crowd, familiar faces of allies, cautious glances from neutrals, and icy stares from the Intec delegation seated at the far end. Their leader, Warlord Crossik, leaned back in his chair, a cruel smirk playing on his reptilian features. "Elise Morgan, Captain of the TDF," she began, her voice clear and unyielding, "and I stand here to tell you, every single action we've taken was for a very good reason." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "You see, the Intec don't operate like the rest of you," she continued, holding up the tablet. With a swipe, holographic images filled the air, devastated colonies, charred landscapes, and the faces of human survivors, hollow-eyed and broken. "They don't negotiate, they don't abide by treaties, they take what they want, resources, worlds, lives." This is what they did to Enceladus Prime, a thriving human colony, reduced to ash, its people enslaved or slaughtered. The murmurs grew louder, some turning to gasps. "For years, humanity pleaded for help. For years, we sent diplomats, envoys, and emissaries, only to have them vanish without a trace. All we wanted was peace, and when peace was denied, we prepared for war." Crossik leaned forward now, his smirk replaced by a snarl. "The humans are melodramatic as always. Enceladus was merely a necessary acquisition. Your people were given a choice." "A choice?" Elise's eyes blazed with fury. She swiped again, revealing footage of Intec soldiers herding terrified colonists into containment units. "This is your idea of a choice?" The chamber fell silent. "We retaliated not out of vengeance, but out of necessity," Elise declared. "When the Intec fleet approached Alpha Centauri, humanity decided it would be the last time they threatened our kind." Her tone shifted, colder now, "And so, we struck, we burned their flagship, we dismantled their supply chains, we turned their war machine into rubble." Crossik stood, his voice a venomous hiss. "You dare?" "I dare because we had no other choice," Elise snapped, silencing him. "The Intec's reign of terror ends now. Humanity does not seek to conquer, only to ensure that no one else falls victim to their tyranny. But if you think for a moment we'll roll over and surrender to the likes of you, think again." The chamber erupted into noise, some in support, others in outrage. Elise held her ground, her gaze unwavering. The Inori speaker raised a hand, calling for order. "The human representative has made her case. The Senate shall deliberate on this matter." As the session adjourned, Elise walked past Crossik, her steps steady. He leaned in as she passed, his voice a low growl. "This isn't over." She turned, her expression steely. "No, it isn't, and when it is, the galaxy will know why humanity stands united." Outside the chamber, the skies above the Senate city glittered with the lights of countless ships. Among them was the Terran flagship Resolute, waiting patiently for its captain. Inside its war rooms, plans were already being drawn. Because humanity didn't just have a good reason, they had the only reason, and the Intec would soon understand what that meant. As Elise returned to the Resolute, the tension in the air was palpable. The crew, a mix of seasoned veterans and fresh recruits, watched her ascend the ramp with a mixture of respect and apprehension. They knew her presence in the Galactic Senate wasn't just diplomacy, it was the prelude to a storm. "Captain on deck," barked Commander Amani Nyoka, snapping a sharp salute. "At ease," Elise said, nodding to her XO. She moved toward the command console, her mind already churning with the events of the Senate meeting. "Status report." Imani followed, her tone professional but tinged with urgency. "Recon teams have confirmed increased Intec fleet activity near the Orion Drift. Scouts report at least 3 Dreadnought-class vessels mobilizing." Elise frowned. That's more firepower than they've shown in years. They're planning something big. Imani hesitated. There's more. One of our deep space probes picked up a signal from the Karath Nebula. Coordinates match a known Intec research station. Preliminary scans show an unusual energy signature. We think they're testing a new weapon. Elise's jaw tightened. The Intec were nothing if not relentless. Do we have specifics? Not yet, but we're decoding the signal now. Drive. Patel is confident we'll have something actionable within the hour. Good. Elise turned to face the bridge crew, her voice carrying across the room. We don't have the luxury of waiting for the Senate to make a decision. If the Intec are building a new superweapon, we need to know what it is and how to stop it. Imani stepped closer, lowering her voice. Captain, if we act without Senate approval, it could alienate some of our allies. And if we wait, the Intec could wipe us out before the Senate finishes deliberating. Elise countered. We didn't survive this long by playing it safe. The comms officer, Ensign Carter, suddenly spoke up. Incoming transmission from Admiral Reyes. Ma'am. Put it through, Elise ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Admiral Elena Reyes, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. Her expression was grave. Captain Morgan, Reyes began without preamble, I've been briefed on the Senate proceedings. I trust you made our position clear? Crystal, Admiral, but it's not enough. The Intec are mobilizing near Orion Drift, and we've detected activity in the Karath Nebula. They're up to something. Reyes nodded. Agreed. The Council is divided, but Terra can't afford to wait. I'm authorizing a covert strike on the research station. Your orders are to infiltrate, gather intel, and, if necessary, neutralize their operation. Elise straightened. Understood, Admiral. We'll move immediately. Reyes leaned closer, her voice dropping to a near whisper. And Captain, whatever you find there, ensure the galaxy knows the truth. The Intec have been unchecked for too long. It's time to end this. The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Elise turned to her crew, her voice steady but commanding. Set a course for the Karath Nebula, all departments on high alert. This isn't just about humanity, it's about ensuring the Intec's reign of terror ends here and now. The engines of the Resolute roared to life as the ship veered toward the nebula. Elise stared out the viewport, her thoughts racing. She knew the risks, the cost of what was to come, but humanity had fought too hard and lost too much to back down now. In the shadows of the Karath Nebula, the Intec awaited, and so did humanity's reckoning. The journey to the Karath Nebula was fraught with tension. The Resolute slipped through the star lanes under a cloak of stealth, its crew working with precision honed by years of conflict. On the bridge, Elise stood by the tactical display, watching as the ship drew closer to the heart of Intec territory. Drive. Patel's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain, we've decoded the signal from the Intec research station. You're going to want to hear this. Patch it through to the bridge, Elise replied, motioning for her officers to gather around. A distorted audio clip played, garbled at first, but then the words became clear, a guttural alien voice speaking in the Intec's native tongue. The universal translator rendered it into Terran standard. The Omega Ray is nearing completion. The humans will not withstand its power. Prepare the fleet for deployment. The room fell silent. Elise clenched her fists. Omega Ray, she repeated, her voice cold. What do we know about it? Drive. Patel appeared on the holographic display, her expression grim. It's an energy weapon, Captain. Based on the data we've intercepted, it's capable of generating an antimatter cascade on a planetary scale. If deployed, it could destroy entire worlds in seconds. A murmur rippled through the crew. Elise's voice cut through the noise. And how close are they to finishing it? Patel hesitated. If our calculations are correct, they could deploy it within days. Elise turned to Imani, her jaw set. We don't have days. How long until we reach the station? 24 hours at current speed, Imani replied. But Captain, the station will be heavily fortified. Even with stealth, getting close will be a challenge. We'll find a way, Elise said firmly. If we don't, it's not just humanity that's at risk, it's everyone. She addressed the crew, her voice steady but urgent. This is what we've trained for. The Intec think they can cow the galaxy into submission, but they've underestimated us. We're going to infiltrate that station, disable the Omega Array, and ensure they never threaten another world again. The bridge crew responded with a resounding aye, Captain. As the Resolute approached the nebula, the crew prepared for the mission. Recon drones were launched ahead to map the station's defenses, and strike teams armed themselves for the battle to come. Elise joined them in the armory, her presence a steadying force. "Captain," said Lieutenant Armin Voss, the leader of the strike team, "this isn't just a raid, it's a suicide mission if we're not careful." Elise met his gaze, her voice unwavering. "That's why we're going to be careful, but let me be clear, failure is not an option. The Intec didn't leave us room for mercy, and they won't grant it to anyone else." Voss nodded, his resolve hardening. "Understood." The nebula's swirling clouds gave the Resolute the cover it needed to approach undetected. The station loomed ahead, a massive construct of black metal and glowing red energy conduits. Even from a distance, the hum of its power core seemed to reverberate through the ship. "Drones have mapped a weak point in their defenses," Imani reported, "a maintenance hatch on the station's underside. It's lightly guarded, but we'll need to move fast." Elise nodded. "Launch the strike team, I'm going with them." Imani opened her mouth to protest, but Elise silenced her with a look. "This isn't a mission I can lead from the bridge, you have the con." As the strike team launched in a small stealth shuttle, the tension was palpable. The station's defenses loomed closer, automated turrets scanning the void for intruders, but the team slipped past undetected, docking at the maintenance hatch. Inside, the station was a labyrinth of corridors and pulsing energy conduits. The team moved in silence, Elise at the forefront. They followed the schematics uploaded by the drones, making their way toward the core. Their luck held, until it didn't. An Intec patrol rounded the corner, their plasma rifles raised. The first shots rang out, the corridor lighting up in a storm of fire. Elise dove behind cover, her pulse rifle barking in return. "Voss, status," she barked over the comms. "We're holding, but reinforcements are coming," Voss replied. Elise gritted her teeth. "We need to reach the core now. Patel, can you remotely disable their security?" "I'm on it," Patel's voice crackled in her ear, "but you'll need to buy me some time." Elise glanced at her team. "You heard her, hold the line." As the battle raged, Elise knew the clock was ticking. The fate of humanity, and the galaxy, depended on what happened next.